Hello and welcome to Turntable update number 10. Another fairly big one. This week we have a new wall shelf. The turntable will be moved away from the computer desk to the other side of the room near the hi-fi, and the only way of accommodating it is to actually mount a wall shelf on the wall. The wall shelf currently obviously is sitting on the table while I make this video. Now you'll see it in position, I say, at the end of the video. Now the wall shelf's got two advantages over its current position. One, it moves the turntable away from the computer, which is causing some interference. I also don't like being at the computer and actually having the turntable directly in my face while I'm playing records. It's actually quite odd, quite distracting. Of course you can hear the sort of little noise coming from the cartridge while it plays, and frankly it's a little bit irritating. Having it across the other side of the room will get rid of the interference and make it more pleasant to actually use. The other one is having it on a wall shelf should cut down enormously on the amount of vibrations. This is an old house, it's nearly 100 years old, and it's got a sprung wood on the floor upstairs, and the floor's fairly loose. I mean, you can walk across the floor and it actually makes CDs jump, so you can imagine what it can do to vinyl records. Now the desk it's been sitting on is attached to the wall anyway, and it was already on a tour-like platform, so it cut down on the vibrations quite a bit, but this should take it to the next level. Now this is an Apollo 2-tier wall shelf. You just take the camera off the mount here, and it's a fairly basic, rather industrial looking design. As you can see, it's fairly simple metal frame. It's on wooden blocks to hold it off the table at the moment. It's just steel sprayed with silver paint. You can have it either silver or black. I thought the black would be rather obtrusive, as I don't have any black furniture or black expedits or anything, so I went for the silver. And this is the version with the glass shelves. Now you can also choose wooden shelves, but the shelves aren't actually wood, they're just veneered whatever, either MDF or chipboard. So I decided to go for the glass option, but I'm not actually going to be keeping the glass. See, the glass actually looks quite nice. You can see it's tinted, and the glass is actually loose on the top there. Take it off and you can see that it's actually mounted on these four rubber corners here. Now here I have a problem. I absolutely loathe the sound of glass as say hi-fi rack. It looks nice, but it imparts a sound. It adds a ringiness, a tinniness to the sort of lower mid-range, and in my experience glass is always bad. I just can't stand it. I'm used to listening to equipment on wooden racks, and I just loathe the sound glass imparts to equipment racks. I know there are some advanced glass equipment racks on the market, and they're probably quite good, but with my experience of glass so far, I'm never going to actually see what they're like. Just avoid them like the plague. Not a big fan of metal racks either, but sometimes metal isn't necessary evil. I mean, I would have loved a wooden turntable rack, and there are some available, but not 2-tier shelves that would fit into this space. They tend to be quite a lot bigger, they're chunkier, and they're also significantly more expensive. I mean, this was bought brand new. I've been looking around to get one second hand, but hadn't managed to find one in decent nick, even though I've been bidding on some of them on eBay. They've been selling for a fair price. Vinyl would appear to be quite popular at the moment. So I said full price, this was nearly £180, so a fair bit. Rather annoyingly, they were quite a lot cheaper than this last year, but it's worth it in the context of, say, mounting a more expensive turntable in time to come. Now there's another problem with this rack, and that's that it has these little rubber feet in the corners. Glass on rubber, I hate squishy feet. Absolutely loathe them. They impart dodgy sound to the equipment, and alright, it isolates the glass from the metal, which is necessary. If they were touching each other, it could be getting very, very ringy indeed. But this rack is not what I want. It is not what I'm going to be happy using, so it means that I need to modify it. Now, to modify it, I'm basically going to do two very simple sort of modifications to the platforms. Basically replace these glass shelves with wooden ones, but instead of using just veneered chipboard, which is what the wooden shelf version of this shelf unit had going to use actual solid wood. The other thing is remove the little rubber stoppers. So it is simply take the glass out and pull these little rubber corner pieces off as well, and then make a new shelf out of wood. So now the glass shelves have been removed, they just literally lift off, and the rubber stoppers have been scraped off. They're just glued on, so it's easy enough to remove them. And now we need to introduce the new shelf, which, as I said, is made of wood. I'll just get in front of the camera, and it is literally just a sheet of, in this case, pine. Now ideally I would use a harder wood than pine, it's a bit soft, but I had a sheet, no, 2 sheets sitting in the garage, actually left over from a kitchen which was fitted, I believe back in the 1980s, and it's literally been just sitting in there the whole time. Now it's just been cut to size, and underneath we have first of all a strengthening batten along the back here, and little tiny, the camera's going to really pick those up particularly well, little tiny screws have been put into little countersunk holes to act as spikes on the corners. Now the strengthening batten's only on the back, which will become apparent fairly soon. So I can show the front of the piece of wood. You'll see there's little tiny indentations in the corner and in the middle of the back, another little indentation. So it literally sits on as so, and sits in place. The spikes touching the metal pieces in the corner there, and so pretty much fairly perfect fit there. Looks fairly nice. Now the reason that it has indentations mounted in it is simply because I'm going to put another shelf on top, again made from the same piece of wood that I cut the main shelf from, only this time shelf's got little feet, 3 little feet. Remember, 3 cone feet always better than 4, and they sit in the indentations. The indentations are there simply so that this doesn't slide off with the turntable in. Now that acts as an additional isolation platform for the turntable. It gives me the 3 feet, which, as I say, gives me the preferred sound and the type of isolation that I want, and enhances the shelf system further. And it does work much nicer than the glass, even with just 1 shelf in place. But having the second shelf, and again with 3 feet rather than 4, the bottom shelf has to have 4 because the mountings are 4 in the corners. Has this. It's also, of course, why the strengthening bar is across the back. It's because there's 1 cone in the middle of the back, and without having additional strengthening there, it would undoubtedly bend it. These cones at the front, of course, are very, very close to where the support is. Anyway, and I've done exactly the same for the bottom. Again, 2 shelves. Just dead simple pieces of pine. I say ideally I'd have hardwood. I've found that hardwood tends to have better resonance control than softwood, and because it's also a lot stronger, this is likely to bend over time. But as I say, this was literally free, apart from the cone feet. I say these were ordered on eBay. 3 of them, £8 delivered. Best cheap isolation supports that you can buy for your hi-fi equipment are oak cone feet, bar none. And so very, very cheap, do the job very well. Again, indentations in place so that can't slide off, and again another additional shelf to act as resonance control. It's an isolation platform for the equipment, so not only does this give a sound that I prefer, let's say the additional platform, it enhances it even further. I think it looks quite nice too, although to be fair, the glass also looked pretty good. One other thing with this wood, which I found slightly amusing while I was making it, it actually had a sticker on it saying it was a product of Norway. Not that unusual in the UK. A lot of our wood, particularly pine, comes from Scandinavia. It's one of their big exports, but you do know what that means, of course. It means this shelf is actually made of Norwegian wood, which was rather amusing. Right, now I have the Marantz TT130 turntable and the musical Fidelity X-LPS and XPSU phono stage sitting on the shelf, and they fit quite snugly. Now if you had a very big turntable, it's a full-size hi-fi separate turntable, if you had one of these very big exotic ones, it would actually struggle to fit, but assuming you've got normal sized equipment, it's quite good. You can see the separate platforms there on top of the actual shelf. and so it fits rather well. Now the main reason of course for putting this wall shelf in was so that I could actually upgrade and get a better turntable. So all the obstacles are now out of the way, and it's the last step in the upgrade chain. Well, for the time being, at least. Now, I did actually try this wall shelf in position. I mean, obviously it's sitting on my table at the moment. I'll show it on the wall at the end of the video. With the glass shelves with the little rubber stoppers in place initially. And I have to say that the wooden shelves do sound significantly better. The timing is much faster, much more precise, which adds realism to the sound. It makes the music more involving, more real, more emotional. But the wood also adds a warmth, a fullness, a smoothness to the sound, a naturalness. I say, I just love the sound of wood shelves. Now I wouldn't choose pine, it was just the wood that I had available. I prefer hardwood. Tends to have better control of the resonances, and it's also stronger. It's quite likely these are warped, they're already not completely flat, but we'll see how they do over time. I can always replace them at a later date. Now there is another reason why this sounded significantly better when it was moved across as well, and it's simply this. I was using these mains leads anyway, but now instead of being plugged into the fairly basic Tacima 6-way main strip that I showed in a previous video, an item that I was singing the praises of, and to be fair, an item that is very good value for money. I mean, it comes in about £29 delivered. It's fantastic. 6-way main buys, nice quality, big chunky device with actual mains filter built in and shielded wiring as well. It's absolutely fantastic value for money. If you live in the UK and you're not currently using any mains filtration on your hi-fi, go on Amazon, buy one of these and pretty much do it immediately. But this now plugs into my mains filtration that the hi-fi uses, and uses a mixture of parallel mains filtration and balanced power supplies. And I say, while this is very good, the mains filtration this plugs into now is about 100 times more expensive than this. Is it 100 times better? Well, no, not subjectively. Technically it probably is, because sound tends to work in logarithm scale, so it's quite likely it's at least 100 times better, maybe even more than that, but the actual improvement in sound is far less. But even so, it adds more warmth, more body, more smoothness, lower noise floor, more natural sound, fuller sound, and all the rest of it, and it gives the turntable a nice boost in quality. So the Marantz turntable now sounds the best I've ever heard it. It really is beginning to sing, but it is also the weak link in the chain. It has several flaws which stop it from sounding, I wouldn't say high-end, it obviously isn't high-end, but it isn't even sort of mid-fi. And I'll do a synopsis video fairly soon regarding the Marantz turntable and my upgrade so far, and talk about it in detail. Now finally have the wall shelf in position. This is rather a tight fit in here, but it's finally ready. Now I actually wanted to attach the wall shelf directly to the wall, but the wall was in such bad shape, the plaster is so old, and it was actually quite difficult to get it to fit, so I actually had to put these battens onto the wall using very long screws to make sure it's firmly into the brickwork, and then actually attach the wall shelf itself to the batten. But it's all nice and strong and secure now. It took quite a few hours to actually get that in place and make sure it was safe, but it certainly is now, and managed to get it pretty level using this method as well. But to increase how level it is, one of the things I've done is utilise the platforms that I've actually put on top of the shelves with these little cone feet, and use them to get the platform perfectly level. Now it was fairly level anyway, particularly left to right, almost perfect, but back to front was slightly out. But dead easy. All I did was knock these little feet off, which weren't glued on terribly strongly in the first place, and then just sand them down. Not sanding the point down, but sanding the flat part of it down. Then refit the shelf so that it is perfectly level, and should actually be able to get my little autophon gauge out and put it on, and hopefully it will show just how level it is. And you can see there, pretty much perfect. Just a very simple way of utilising the 3 cone feet to actually get a perfect level on your equipment. Now any turntable that's placed on there will already be on a perfectly flat surface without actually having to have any additional adjustments made. So here we have the Marantz TT130 and the musical Fidelity X-LPS phono stage actually mounted in place. As you can see, it fits nicely on top, as you saw in the other videos, but now it's actually attached to the wall, and you can see the oak cone feet have now been put back underneath the turntable. So you've got oak cone feet and then a platform with the cone feet and then the actual thing itself to give good resonance control. And got the other little units underneath. Now I've decided to carry on using the single platform that I made rather than the two small platforms that I made for those two components previously. I tried using them both together, but if you keep adding platform after platform on top of each other, you start over-egging the pudding, you start blurring the sound, which isn't what I want in this particular case. It can be useful if that's what's required, but I like the sound grounded and I like the timing nice and fast. So keep the resonance control fairly simple, but effective. Now a turntable mounted here. It's a nice convenient height for me to actually use it, and a nice convenient position. Slightly awkward having to stuff it in this corner of the room, but when I eventually get around to doing a room tour video, you'll see why. But there it is, the Apollo 2-tier turntable wall shelf with modified wooden shelves, and I'm very pleased with it. And now all the obstacles are now out of the way for me to actually buy a new much higher quality turntable to replace this Marantz, and that should be happening hopefully within a few weeks. Now the next turntable video is going to be me showing my record clamp, which I actually bought a few months ago and completely and utterly forgot to make a video about it. So that'll come next. After that I want to show my Spin Clean record cleaner. Not an actual turntable upgrade, but very much part and parcel of the whole vinyl experience, keeping your records clean. And then after that, a synopsis video, basically going through everything that I've gone through upgrading this Marantz turntable, my journey so far, before actually buying and showing a new turntable. So that's it for turntable update number 10. Hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching.